what I said. All right. Okay, so here we see Adam and Eve have Cain and Abel, right? And Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. The Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So as we go through this chapter, the point of going through chapter 4 is I want you to see the two different types of people that are created in Genesis chapter 4. We're going to have two different bloodlines, two different origins. And when we get to the end of chapter 4, you're going to see two different types of people. You're going to see the people of God and the people of the world, okay? So that's what I want you to see as we go through. So right now, though, here's what I want you to see in this particular part. Why didn't the Lord have respect unto Cain's offering? See, a lot of people think that it was because Abel brought an animal and that Cain didn't bring an animal and God was telling them to bring an animal or something. Well, I don't necessarily think that's the case. If you look at Abel's offering, it says, and Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. So Cain, it says he brought the fruit of the ground, but Abel brought the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. So he takes his very first of his flock, he takes the best of his flock. He not only takes the first ones that he gets, he takes the fat ones, the best ones that he gets. So this is a symbol. Abel is giving God his very best, his very first, and his very best, right? And Cain, it doesn't say that about Cain's offering. It says he just gives him what he has. So that is the difference. But I want you to see that God's not even really that mad at Cain about this. Let's keep reading. I want to show you God's not even that mad about it. Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord, and Abel brought the firstling of the flock and of the fat thereof. I just read that. But unto Cain, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and he shall rule over him. Here's what he says unto Cain. He says, what are you upset about? You're the older brother. You automatically have the inheritance. You are automatically going to be number one if you do what I ask you to do. Okay? Here's what Abel gives his best. And God looks at Cain. He's not even really that mad at him. He just says, look, if you give me your best, you're automatically going to be favored above your brother. All you have to do is give me what I'm asking, which is your first and your best. If you do that right there, I'm going to put you above your brother Abel. I mean, God's not even really scolding him that way. He said, just do what I ask you to do, okay? That's all he wants. But we see Cain, and he is so mad about this. What does he do? He goes and he does something even worse, right? We know the story of Cain and Abel, but let's go ahead and keep reading. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass that when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? How many have heard that statement before? Am I my brother's keeper? That's where this comes from. Basically, he's looking at God and he's saying, it's not my day to watch him. I don't know where he's at, right? Kind of being a smart aleck. And he said, and God, this is God, he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened up her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. Cain says, look, my punishment is so much more than I can bear. I can't bear this. But it don't matter anyway. If somebody finds me, they're going to kill me. Basically, Cain saying, this punishment don't matter anyway, because for what I've done, when somebody finds me, they're going to kill me. But God says, oh no, that's not going to happen. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Now, what I want you to understand is this is not a blessing. Cain does have God's protection on his life, but God is sparing Cain's life and making sure he doesn't die so that he can live out his punishment. Okay? He's not sparing Cain as a reward. He's sparing Cain as a curse. And he puts a mark upon him, lest any finding him can see, this is what happened. This is what's going on. This is the punishment he is getting. Look and remember. Look at this mark and remember what happened here. Remember what I think about what he did, right? And we see that all the time in the Bible. God makes examples out of people and says, look, this is what I think about what just happened. I want you to remember this, and I don't want you to forget this. We're going to see another symbol like that here in a minute. We're going to talk about it. But the descendants of Cain, they take this mark of Cain, and they start to treat it like it's a blessing. We're going to see that here in a minute. And this is how the world just devolved so quickly into just filth and smut and chaos and ruin by taking something that God meant for good and turning it to evil, right? Let's keep going. And Cain went out with his mark from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and unto Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives, which, right, just in case you don't know, that's wrong. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zilhah. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as had cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and the organ. And Zilhah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain is Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain be avenged 7-fold, truly Lamech 70 and 7-fold. He looks at his wife and he says, I've killed somebody, but this man was going to hurt me. So, Cain killed somebody, and what Cain did was way worse than what I did. So if Cain's life gets spared 7-fold, if there's an avengement on Cain's life that any finding him should kill him 7-fold, then truly I haven't done nearly what as bad as Cain has done, that God will avenge my life 70 and 7-fold. He's looking at it as a blessing. He killed somebody and he says, well, at least now, seeing what Cain did, at least God will protect my life. I mean, what a wicked attitude. What a wicked concept to look at something that God has done and meant for a symbol to say, hey, don't do this, and take it and reverse it and use it as evil. Use it the world takes what God says and means it for their own wickedness, for their own pleasure, for their own morals, right? Let me tell you something else that the world uses that is a mark from God that they use for their own wickedness and their own morals. Yeah. The rainbow. That's right. This is a symbol of what God did. Let me show you this as a symbol. Look, we'll jump ahead real quick in Genesis chapter 9. I want to read you Genesis chapter 9, 8 through 17. And God spake unto Noah and to his 2 sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, of every beast of the earth that is with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. This is after the flood is already over, and Noah and his family gets off the ark with all the animals, right? You know the story of Noah's ark. I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. He says, I'm not going to destroy the world by a flood anymore. Neither shall there be any more flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is a token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the water shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. I do set my... We get it. We get it. This is God's symbol of what happened. So we see Cain's descendants divulging and just is being wicked, right? And taking the symbols of God and using them for their own glory and their own ratification. They think that they're going to be protected by doing wicked and doing evil, right? And what do we have today? Bunch of sodomites, queers, gays. I hate even to use the word gay because gay means happy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, what's the song? Don, we now are gay apparel. Yeah, that means happy. Ever seen the Flintstones? Have a do time, a yabba do time. We'll have a gay old time, right? The Flint, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know you enjoyed that. A gay means happy. I hate to use the word gay, but sodomites, queers, homos, right? They take this and they wave it in front of God's face and say, ha ha, you can't do nothing to me. You promised you wouldn't destroy the world anymore, right? God destroyed the world for wickedness and filth that in the days of Noah. So shall it also be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. But here's what they do. They take God's symbol that says, hey, remember what happened. Remember what happened in the days of Noah. I destroyed the world because of this wickedness and this filth. Remember this. Remember what I think about this. And they take it and they shove it in God's face and say, ha ha, look at me. If Cain be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold, right? They take this symbol and they say, I can do whatever I want because you promised that you wouldn't destroy the world anymore. Yeah. Right?
That's right.
So, but here's the deal. God promised not to destroy the world with a flood. Very good. Not with a flood. Luke 17, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it also be in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark. And the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. You see, God promised not to destroy with water. He didn't promise not to destroy again with fire. Yeah. And there's coming a day when God's going to get sick of this crap right here. He's getting tired of it, and he's going to destroy the world again. But, praise the Lord, we're going to be with Noah. We are God's people, okay? Amen. Now let me show you the difference between us and the world. Let's keep going. As we move on through chapter 4, we start to see a different type of people, okay? And we're now in verse 25 of Genesis 4. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. You know, Abel died, right? Because Cain killed him. And so she has another son named Seth. For God said, she hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. What does the Bible say? For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Okay, we're talking about saved people now. Now, here is something that people will say. They'll say that, well, the Old Testament, this ain't talking about salvation because the Old Testament saints were saved by works, they say. They say that Old Testament, you had to work your way to heaven in the Old Testament. Let me tell you something. There has never been and never will be a time when salvation was by works. It has always been by grace through faith and always will be by grace through faith. Let's look at that quickly before we move on. Now, let me show you. In Romans chapter 4, we're talking about Old Testament saints. I'm going to read. We've been through this chapter before down here, Romans 4. We'll go through it quickly again. This is talking about Old Testament saints here, okay? I want you to listen to what this says. This is crystal clear. I want you to pay attention and understand this is salvation in the Old Testament, okay? What shall we say then that Abraham our father, as pertaining to the flesh, hath found? For if Abraham were justified by works, he hath whereof the glory, but not before God. For what saith the Scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Now to him that worketh is the reward, not reckoned of grace, but of debt. We talked about that a few weeks ago when I was down here, about how salvation is a free gift, and any work you do for God is a separate transaction from your salvation. When you get saved, that is 100% free. If you go out then and do works for God, God's saying He owes you a reward because you're not paying back your salvation. That was free. Separate transaction, okay? I ain't going to re-preach that again, but you remember that. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. We're talking about Abraham here. And if Abraham isn't enough of an Old Testament character, it talks about David next. Even as David also describeth the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputeth righteousness without works. Listen to me, salvation has never been and will never be by works. If you don't understand anything tonight, understand that. Salvation will always be by grace through faith, okay? Saying, blessed are those whose iniquities blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord would not impute sin, okay? So that's why I want you to understand salvation has always been the same from the beginning of time. So when men began to call upon the name of the Lord, what's the Bible say? For whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. Right? So, okay. Now we understand that we are talking about two different groups of people. Cain and his descendants, which have devolved into total destruction and chaos, waving their symbol everywhere. And then we have the people of God who one generation in start to get saved. Start to call upon the name of the Lord, right? We have the people of God and the people of the world. So we're going to skip 5 and go straight to 6 because this is where we start talking about the giants, or what they call the Nephilim. Now, don't let that word snow you or fool you. Nephilim is just the Hebrew word for giants. But they take this word Nephilim and they hope you don't know what it means, and they start to talk about alien demon hybrids and humans mating with fallen angels and all this stuff, and that is not true. Let's look at Genesis, and this all happens in the beginning of Genesis 6, so let's look at it and see what it actually says. Genesis 6, verse 1. And it came to pass, when man began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. So, the sons of God is simply talking about saved people. But here's what they want you to think. They want you to think the sons of God are angels. Not only that they're angels, they try to tell you that they are fallen angels. Okay? Well, let me show you a few verses real quick that will show you and prove to you that this is not talking about angels. Psalm 2, verse 7. I will declare the decree, the Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. He is talking to a saved man right there. And this is in Acts 13. This is talking about that passage I just read. And we declare unto you glad tidings, how that the promise which was made unto the fathers, the Old Testament saints, God hath fulfilled the same unto us, their children, the New Testament saints, in that he hath raised up Jesus again, as it is also written in the 2nd Psalm, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Talking to saved, Bible-believing Christians, okay? But look here, let me show you that he's never called an angel a son. Hebrews 1, being made so much better than the angels, as he hath by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. For unto which of the angels that said he at any time, thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. And again, I will be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son, question mark. And again, when he bringeth in the first begotten into the world, he saith, let all the angels worship him. What's he saying? He says, I've never said unto an angel at any time, thou art my son. I have never called an angel a son of God, let alone a fallen angel. Right? These sons of God are not angels. He's never called an angel a son of God. But who does he call sons of God? Saved people, Christians, us. Now let me show you this exact term, sons of God, in the Bible. You try to tell me who he's talking about. John 1:12. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Romans 8:14. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. 1 John 3:1. Behold, what manner of love hath the Father bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of God. Therefore, the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now are we the sons of God. Who are the sons of God? Christians. Very good. Christians. Saved people are the sons of God. So now when we go back to Genesis 6 and we see the sons of God, who do you think we're talking about? The saved, the Christians, that lineage of Seth who began to call upon the name of the Lord. Now what's the Bible say? Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. This is what happened in the world. You had the people of God and the people of the world, and they started to intermingle. And just like when Solomon married wives that worshipped other gods, you remember the story of Solomon, how he was the wisest man in the Bible, but then he started to marry wives that worship other gods, and they turned his heart away from the Lord. Same thing happens here, okay? And it came to pass when men began to multiply upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, and yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after them, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Now, what I just read, do we see anything about angels? Do we see anything about half human, half animal hybrids? Do we see anything about half demon, half people hybrids? Now, but I want you to notice one thing we do see that's out of the ordinary. And what is that? If you noticed. Giants. There are giants. Okay? But look at what it says. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. So what did I say? There were giants in the earth in those days. There were also giants after the sons of God came in into the daughters of men. There were already giants. The giants are not a result of the sons of God and the daughters of men coming together. There were already giants. So here's another thing they'll try to say. They'll try to say, well, the whole purpose of the flood was to get rid of these creatures, these giants, these hybrids that were made from the demons and the people, right? Well, if that's the point, if it's to get rid of the giants, the flood was, why do we see giants after the flood? Right? The land of Canaan full of giants. Og, the king of Bashan, a giant. David and Goliath. Goliath was a giant. Philistines had giants. Canaan had giants. There were giants all through the Old Testament. If the point of the flood was to get rid of giants, God didn't do a very good job. Because there's still giants in the Old Testament. Because that's the thing. That's not the point of the flood. The point of the flood wasn't to get rid of these creatures. There weren't creatures anyways. Just people were giants sometimes. Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, still today, technically...
Getting ready to say that. I was getting ready to look at the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Shaq, Yao Ming, and
exactly.
I think the tallest person on earth right now is like 8'11".
And listen to this. So, in the Bible, we only see, listen. What have we said? Just believe what's in the Bible, okay? So we have examples in the Bible showing us kind of sort of the height of two different giants. Goliath was like, 9 foot something? Maybe almost 10 foot? I don't remember the height. But that was his height, okay? Somewhere around in there. Then you have Og, the king of Bashan, okay? It doesn't tell you how tall he is, but it said that his bed was 13 feet long. So, I'm going to tell you that he was not 40 feet tall, okay? You know, have you ever heard of this book called the Book of Enoch?
Yeah.
Anybody ever heard of this? This is a farce. This is a fairy tale. It's not real. Enoch didn't write it. It's a joke. They're not 40-foot tall giants. And this is where all this stuff comes from. Human alien hybrids and 40-foot tall giants and demons mating with humans and all this crazy stuff comes from this book, okay? Giants are not 40 feet. We have giants, like you said, there's giants today, basically. You're just talking about somebody who's like 9 feet tall. And have you ever been next to somebody that's 7 feet tall? Do you know how tall they seem like they are? Think about somebody 9, you would call that, gosh, he's a giant. You know, if you're just looking at somebody 9 feet tall, that feels really, really big, okay? But that's all these giants are. They're just really tall people. Okay, they're not human alien hybrids or nothing like that, okay? But these sons of God are just that. Children of God, saved people, okay? There were giants in the earth in those days and also after that. I just talked about that. They bear children. Okay, there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that when the sons of God, the Christians, came into the daughters of men, the world, they bare children to them. The same became mighty men of old, men of renown. But so what's this talking about? I believe all this is saying is that you have Christians and you have people of the world, and they come together and they are creating babies, and these babies grow up and they become leaders in the community. And I think that this just helped the world evolve even quicker, because they're looking. Maybe Christians are looking at these people who are political leaders, just like today, and they think, well, that's a man of God. He mentions God every once in a while. You know, he mentions the name of God. Maybe he's a Christian. Maybe I can follow him. You know, he mentioned the Bible. You know, he said he likes 2 Corinthians. He might be a good man of God. Maybe we should follow him. And I'm not picking on Trump. But what I'm saying is that, you know, this could be what's going on here, right? That's all this is that people were mixing together and they were devolving. The people of God their heart is being pulled away, like Solomon, from God, from the things of God, and they're starting to follow the world. That's all this is saying. That's all that's going on here. And because of that, just like Corey was talking about love the other day, because sin abounds, the love of many waxes cold, right? And love is not a feeling, it's an action. And that was a good sermon the other day, and he's going to pick that back up, and that's going to tie in together really well. Because this is a world lacking love, right? And this world devolved really quickly into just sin and destruction. And God, it was so bad, God had to destroy the entire world, save 8 people, Noah, his sons, and their wives. Okay? But, so what is the problem with the people of God and the people of the world mingling together? We've been talking about it all night, but look in 2 Corinthians. You don't have to turn there, I'll read it for you if you want. 2 Corinthians 6:14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Christ with Belial? That's the devil. Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? That's somebody that doesn't believe. And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God. As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord. And touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. I will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. So who are the sons of God? Christians. What's the moral of the story? Be not unequally yoked, right? Be ye separate from the world. I mean, we are to love the world. I've heard this all the time. Be insulated, but not isolated, right? Live a Christian, a holy, a godly life. Don't devolve with the people of the world and go down their ways. And let me tell you something. If you're a Christian in here today, don't marry a non-Christian.
Yeah.
Do not do that. That is just, as you can see, I mean, a whole world got destroyed because of that. Because of Christians marrying non-Christians. You say, what's so bad? Because, you know, what if they don't get saved? What if they pull your heart away from God? Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived. He's the son of the man who was a man after God's own heart, David. And he produced Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived. And Solomon was given the honor of building the temple of God. And what happened to Solomon? He started marrying the world. And these wives pulled his heart in his old age away from God. The wisest man that ever lived. God loved Solomon clearly. He gave him all the wisdom in the world. And he still turned away from God. Why? Because he married a non-believer. If you don't take anything away from tonight, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. Boyfriends, girlfriends, you know, I know maybe that's far away, maybe that's down the road. I don't know. Be not unequally yoked. Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And the only reason I read that is because I know Corey's going to be preaching on love next week, and that'll go right into it. And I like what we've been doing down here. We've been kind of a theme, and it works, and I like it.
Yeah.
You know, what do we believe? Or we're preaching about what we believe and why we believe it. Right? So, take this stuff seriously. Take it to heart. And live for the Lord. Right? Live for the Lord. That's it.
Amen.